As I've been discussing over the last few weeks in my discussions, I am fascinated by the antebellum era of California, specifically from the end of the Mexican American War to the Civil War era. Two specific events during this era that fascinate me that I would like to discuss as a part of a potential grant proposal are the duels. Yes, duels between David Terry, the Supreme Court Chief Justice of California in 1859, and David Broderick, a state senator from California. I'd also like to discuss the duel of Dan Showalter and Charles Piercy, two Democrats on on opposite sides of both the slavery and the loyalty issue in 1861. Both duels would end up with the pro-Confederate, pro-slavery individual winning and killing the other. They're fascinating events, both happening right around San Francisco, of all places. Now, I know in 2025 here, we do not think of San Francisco as a place where debates over slavery are occurring or really have ever occurred. And yet they did. Not only occurred in terms of debates, but in terms of deadly duels. Now, I'd like to make this specific, excuse me, the specific appeal to the Native Sons of the Golden West. And they are a historical uh, fraternity over here in California. They have a specific foundation called the Historical Preservation Foundation. Now, the NSGW, the Native Sons of the Golden West, was founded on July 11th of 1875, and they were founded as a response to all of the events that occurred. Of course, with the gold rush starting, gold being found in 1848, the gold rush starting in 1849, and people from around the United States and the world flocking to California, quite literally in the hundreds of thousands, which makes California one of the most unique places in American history from its very inception. California has been as such. Now, the foundation, according to the Native Sons of the Golden West, according to their website, the Historical Preservation Foundation has given out over $1.5 million in grants since the Historical Preservation Foundation's founding in the year 2000. Now, what I would like to see, and the Native Sons, they on their website, as will be linked in my discussion, they certainly advertise themselves with a focus on the gold rush and the era just following, which, of course, for me is of special interest. This is the era where I really find myself quite interested in and have done fairly extensive study in my time in the PhD program here at Liberty. These two duels specifically are events I had not heard about. I mean, I got my history degree partly starting at California State University, Fresno here, Fresno State, and I took a class on the Civil War from one of the preeminent scholars, at least in my own personal experience on the Civil War, and Dr. Ethan Keitel. He's the chair of the history department at Fresno State, and his class was incredible, and he never discussed these two duels. I also have did quite a few research, did wrote my final history paper when I got my degree, finished my degree at National University. I wrote my final paper on the Civil War and ultimately never came across these two duels in my research. It was not until I took the History of the Civil War research seminar here at Liberty University last summer that I came across the David Terry versus David Broderick duel in 1859 and the Dan Showalter versus Charles Piercy duel in 1861. So a quick description of these duels is, I think, at hand here. David Broderick, a California senator, state senator elected in 1856, he was opposed to slavery. He was a state senator, a free soil Democrat, very much along the lines of kind of bordering between what Stephen Douglas might argue and the more free soil Democrats. And then you have Charles Piercy. And ultimately both of these duels, and the same with Showalter and with Piercy, I'm sorry, and Terry and Broderick, ultimately these duels are over honor. And that is one of the most fascinating things about them, especially the Showalter and Piercy duel. Both men are Democrats, but Piercy felt that Showalter on the floor of the Senate had insulted him. I think these would be worthy of a fascinating. I think if we could give a conference on California history, focusing on the gold rush, something that I think could be very beneficial for California history instructors in California. We pride ourselves, of course, on especially with our younger students on focusing on. We just kind of start our history with the Gold Rush and Native Americans. I think a conference focusing on that and discussing these two fascinating topics that were emblematic not only of the era in terms of the gentlemanly kind of discussions that were going on, but also of the radical and truly divisive discussion of slavery that was happening in all places of San Francisco, California.